It's recording.
You are watching Our Stories on TikTok, the show that aims to document contemporary Ireland in all of its complexity, depth, beauty, and darkness when it comes to it. We hope to represent all the characters, cultures, and tribes of the west of Ireland, and Ireland more generally. We're trying to capture images in which we can see ourselves, our past, and our future. If that sounds like something you're into, hit the subscribe button there, hey. I'm here today with Gemma Bradley, the most amazing, talented singer and songwriter, and she's also a presenter on BBC Ulster, and I've brought her in today to talk about her experiences in the kind of taboo topic of race in Ireland. And Gemma, can you start by just telling us where you're from?
Yeah.
And where you grew up?
Okay, so I was born in Stoke-on-Trent in England, and I kind of lived there until I was about 7 or 8, and my mum's originally from Northern Ireland.
Okay.
So we just moved back, and we moved to a small town called Draperstown, and it's in County Derry, and I've just lived there since. Now I'm kind of based in Belfast, but that's kind of where I grew up.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Spent a couple of years in England and then kind of did all the growing up.
Yeah. I mean, that's funny because I have a very similar story in that I was born kind of the close enough city to Stoke-on-Trent is Derby, and that's where I was born.
Yeah.
And like that, I think I was 8 or 9 when Mum got sick. Well, Mum's from Ballinasloe, and then we moved here. So I'm wondering, what kind of... Do you have many memories of Stoke-on-Trent?
Bits and bobs.
Bits and bobs.
Yeah. I remember, well, I guess I do kind of have memories because we would go over and visit family like every year.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, I'd always go back and see my school friends as well. But I remember my primary school was like St. Thomas Aquinas or something.
Yeah.
With a wee red uniform. And one memory that always sticks out to me was my friend had told me, it's so stupid, like, but my friend had told me, you know, if you don't want to eat your vegetables, Gemma, just hide them under your mashed potato. Nobody's gonna find it. It's so random. And then I did that one day and it didn't work. They made me eat my vegetables.
That is mad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's so funny about how you're saying about that seems to happen to a lot of Irish kids, that like, even if they were living in England, they'd be brought home every few months, like do you know that you come back on holiday.
Yeah. So
I suppose even when you were in England, did you have a sense of kind of Irishness and what that means, and or
yeah, I'd say so, because like I said, we always would go over and visit family, so I guess when we did eventually move here, it was normal because I'd already kind of made friends. I'd already, you know, hung around with my family and got to know them. Yeah. So I always kind of did have that sense of Irishness there.
And what did you make of? Was it Derry?
Yeah, Derry.
County Derry.
Yeah, County Derry. I mean, it's definitely different to England because it's a lot more rural. Yeah. Obviously, because where I was kind of based in England, it's a lot more like industrial. You know, a lot's happening. Whereas Draperstown, the town that I moved to, like, we have like 1 doctor's, 3 shops. Do you know what I mean? It's very small. It's very different. But I actually, one of the things I always say, I'm really glad that I moved over here because I feel like I would be a totally different person. Yeah. Growing up in a city rather than the rural kind of society, like I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah. I think it's kept me really grounded. I'm
very like that too. Like, so you go from the city to a village, like the village where I live and where Mum comes from, everything. It's called Kilconnell, and there's 3 pubs. There used to be 4. There's 3 shops. Yeah. There used to be 4. Like, there's 4 roads, and that's about it. Yeah. Like, it's funny. Like, that's such a relatable story or image. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway, and I'm assuming you're the only child that looked like you in Draperstown.
Yeah, kinda. Well, I mean, there was another family who moved. Well, they were there before me.
Yeah.
But what I would say, it's really weird, because I'm quite lucky. I've always been very accepted.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be the same for them, if that makes sense. And I don't know why that is. Maybe I used to play sport and everything growing up, so maybe it's to do with team sports and things like that.
Yeah.
But I was always very accepted. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Is it kind of that you never so you never felt like an outcast or anything because of your colour?
No. Like, that's what I say. Very, very accepted. Like, I've had some experiences. Maybe when I was younger, I probably did have some, but I would never have realised, if that makes sense. I was oblivious to it. I've just been like, oh, they don't like me. Like, you know what I mean? But I'm very, as I've gotten older, it's very, like, more apparent.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Like it is, to be fair. It's a nice feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of coming to a stage where I feel the same. Like, I really don't feel like. So, I've kind of been talking about how when I was doing my leaving cert, which is, everybody knows, is like a mad stressful time when you have to make such important decisions and stuff. And I knew that I wanted to be on the TV and the media as a whole. And I was noticing that you wouldn't see people of colour on. Like, it wasn't a thing, do you know? Like, it certainly wasn't normal, and you would notice if you did see someone, like a black person or whatever, on the TV.
Oh, 100%. I think there's definitely a lack of representation there.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I don't think people realise until it's said.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah, there definitely is.
But kind of after I got over that, I think it was... Because the thought did come into my head, like, maybe it's not possible to me because of this thing, and why isn't it happening? And you do feel that you get a sense of kind of being underrepresented.
Yeah.
But once I got over that mental obstacle, I think, if anything, my colour was an advantage. Do you know what I mean? Like, you like, and we were kind of talking earlier about this whole mixed race and high colour and light skin and whatever, which is what it is. Like, we won't get into that, but I genuinely feel that my perspective, as well as being kind of handsome and different looking, has held me in good stead. Is that something that you can relate to in any way, or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like everybody these days, they're always wanting to, be as diverse as they can. So it does work in my favour, that aspect. Also, being a woman too. I definitely agree with that. But yeah, I still think there is a lack of representation.
Yeah.
I mean, people are trying to, do it differently, trying to get more representatives. Yeah, there we go. I was like, what word am I trying to say? Yeah, they are trying to get more people. But I think it's something that needs to be worked on still. And at the same time, I don't think it's ever held me back in any way. And I'm lucky to be able to say that it hasn't, because like I said, I think I've been pretty accepted. But I mean, I still say growing up, I look very different to what I do now. I didn't wear my natural hair down or anything like that. I'd chemically straighten my hair because I wanted long hair the rest of my friends, and I don't know, it's one of those stages when you're growing up, you just want to fit in, whereas now I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna wear that yellow suit and I'm gonna wear my hair in my fro, so it's I don't know, I don't care as much now, whereas when I was younger I probably cared a wee bit more.
So there was it sounds like there was a kind of a journey there. There was steps to you coming to arrive at this place that you're at now.
100%. I think what really helped me, seriously enough, is when I moved to the city, when I started studying in Dublin. Everything's a lot different in a small town. You don't want to stand out too much in a small town because people are like, oh god, would you look at what she's wearing or whatever, whereas in the city it's like anything goes. You can be yourself. The style's so different. I know, looking back, if I had never moved to Dublin, or like a city like it, I probably wouldn't wear what I wear now and wouldn't be as confident in myself, because I feel like I really found myself in those few years as an artist, you know, as a person in general as well, you know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You love to see it, like you love to hear it, like. Would you say, Gemma, that I think identity and race and all of those kind of things, they're things that you kind of have to buy into. Like, I feel like you almost, the way that you operate, the way that you consider things, the way that like it doesn't seem to be something that is majorly important to you, or would you say?
I mean, I think it is important to me.
Yeah.
I may not like preach about it or anything like that, but I'm still me. I'm really proud of where I've come from. I'm really proud of my heritage.
Yeah.
And like, if someone was to question me on that, I would 100% like fight them, not physically, but you know what I mean. Because I am proud of who I am. I'm proud of my identity, and I'm super proud of my Irishness too, as well as my Jamaican heritage. And I'll always put my hand up and say that. But yeah, it is important to me, but it's not like the only thing I talk about, if that makes sense.
I'm aware now that the way I said that was just the worst way I could say it. What I mean is, there's some people that I find that kind of fall into it, and it becomes an excuse for this, and it becomes a negative aspect of their life. What I mean is, you have a beautiful way about you, like you have a lovely, like as much as you can say there, you're proud of being Irish, and you're proud, like I'd be the same way, but I think that's a very healthy way to be, in a very progressive way, so that you're not carrying around this kind of this weight or this fear or this paranoia that people think this, and that's kind of what I meant.
Okay, yeah. No, I get what you mean. Yeah, I don't think I have that. But I mean, like, I can only speak from my own experience, because I know other people may have had negative experiences, and then that can probably, that's what happens. That's when you do start to have that weight there, because of things that have happened over the years. But like I say, I'm lucky I haven't had many. I've had a few, but not enough to make me like that, I guess. But yeah, that's
the way you should be as well. Like, you know, like, and I think in that positivity, you stand to become like, or you are, I'm sure already, quite a positive role model for, say, if there's another little girl in some small Irish town and she doesn't, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and it's quite a mature place to be in. Can you talk to me about your journey to identity? Do you think that you always felt as secure, and like, was it ever an issue for you, like, or were you always just, like you say, like happy with yourself, and that's it, like?
I mean, majority of the time, yes, but definitely in those kind of younger teenager kind of years, I think I definitely struggled a bit, because I was different, like, you know, as much as I straightened my hair, you know, I was still gonna stick out, and I guess that was a bit of a struggle. I probably didn't know it as much at the time, and I very much was trying to fit in. I was trying to be like the rest of my friends, but I think all teenagers kind of have that weird period, but
angsty.
But yeah, I think it's more, I guess I always knew where I was from, and I was happy with that. It never bothered me, but I guess I'd still go back to that teenager thing.
That's brilliant. Did kind of Irish Jamaican, you know, good mix, you know.
I have to agree.
Bob Marley and Luke Kelly, like, you can't go wrong, like, I'll take that all day.
Name a better duo, like.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so did you see a difference between the way people acted with you in Belfast versus Dublin?
Like, it's a weird one because I would always say like the people I met in Dublin were a lot like, I would say they're like my music friends, and I feel like that society is a lot more like, it's a lot more open, in comparison to up here. Like you just meet random people up here. But what I would say, I guess, about up here is sometimes people can be very backward, and it's just out of ignorance, and so I'd say my interactions are different in comparison to what they would have been in Dublin. It's a lot more open. I think you do see a lot more diversity in Dublin too, because it's a bigger city, you know, whereas like I said in Draperstown, like there's only 2 families of people of colour. Oh, not even families. It's just like, because I'm like an only child, so it's just me, and then that the other family, so there wasn't many interactions. And I think, you know, sometimes people see, I still get it, like even when I'm up here and people just stare, and you're like, have you not seen an afro before, or do you know what I mean? And I'm fine with it now. I'm just like, oh, it's just another person doing that. But when that kind of at the start, when I first started wearing my hair natural and things like that, I would have got more stares, and I was like, oh no, like I was like, is there something on my face? Is it like, are they looking at me because I am brown? Like, is this? And that used to freak me out a bit. But no, it is what it is, and stare how you want, you know. So yeah, it's definitely different. Whereas in Dublin, you don't get that as much, I guess, because there is more diversity down there, and it's just a norm. Like it's not a thing. Yeah. You know.
I'm going to ask a very bold question.
Oh
right?
no!
And I've asked it to everybody.
Okay.
So it's not targeted at you, like, and I'm interested in the very different responses I've gotten to this question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you are allowed to see yourself as Irish and be Irish by others?
But yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, for me, like, obviously, like I am. I've lived here longer than I lived in England. I've spent most of my life here, so it would be weird for me not to, you know, have people see me as Irish when I am. There's there's just no question about it. I am what I am. But yeah. I
love that, you know. I love that. Tell them. And you know what's funny about that is, people say to me, I'm like, I'm Irish, right? And then they'd be like, oh, but you were born in England. Or, well, I'm not even sure if people do say that to me, or it's just the voice in my head that says to me, as if that takes away from my Irishness. But I actually think being born to an Irish immigrant in England makes you more, like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing more Irish than that. Like, as if to say, like, it's such a common story, and you see in so many people that, you know, like, it was no small amount of people that Irish people that were in England, like, and then come home again, you know. That's an interesting one. Gemma, do you feel like in your music career, do you think your colour has had any effect on your on how well you've done?
No. Like I say, it's a weird thing. Like I don't think in my music I don't really do what other people do. It's very random, but so I mean I don't feel like that's ever come into play. Again, I've been fairly lucky in that I've been accepted, and it's never really been in question, you know, my Irishness, or, you know, oh, we shouldn't book her because she looks like this, or, you know what I mean. What that I'm aware of, you know, unless people have, I don't know. But I don't think it's come into play there at all. No, I'd say more being a woman has come into play there.
Really?
Because obviously at the moment there is like a lack of representation of women in the music industry. Sure, if you look at Electric Picnic's lineup, the headliners all male. Not bashing any guys out there, but you know what I mean. It's just a bit shocking to see. Whereas like sometimes you're given certain opportunities because you're a woman, and like that's nice and everything, but it shouldn't be the way. It shouldn't be a thing. You know, you should just get the opportunities because you're good. You know.
I think. Now I'm not going to pretend and say that I understand that, but that I can see it. You know, even so. If you don't know, myself and Gemma met in Other Voices in Dingle this year, or it's last year now. But I was talking to Ro, and she was saying about how some major festival and the lad who runs it comes out and says, "Oh, there's not enough girls picking up guitars," and you think,
"Oh, yeah, I remember that comment." Yeah.
What's that about? Like,
it's just things like that. It's just ignorance or stupidity. I don't know because there is it's just they're just not represented. There are loads of females out there picking up guitars, singing, whatever, writing music, and it's just like they're ignored. Same with Red and Leeds Festival. You know, I don't know if you saw the lineup when it was first announced, and you took away all the male names, and it was like hardly any women still. Like, it was a joke. If you took all the male names off the poster, it was not a festival. It was like a gig for 2 hours. Like, do you know what I mean?
I think that is so fascinating that Gemma has just told me that being a woman has been more of a barrier to progress and success than being of colour, which I think is I sometimes, Gemma, I get frustrated because these discussions about race, one, I don't think they had enough.
Oh, I agree.
And when they had in a very, oh God, this shit again. Who shot Malcolm X? Like, oh, like, you know, like, it's such a reputation. Like, its repetition is often quite angry and negative. And one thing that I really hate is when, like, all I want is for I want Ireland to develop its own understanding of race and its own ways of dealing with it, because there's all these little quirky Irishisms that, you know, come into play. Like, it's a very different situation between diversity in the UK or diversity in America and here, and I'd like that to be acknowledged, you know. But I just think that's fascinating that, like, why is this the first time I've ever heard this said, you know? Yeah. What, do you hear many of these kind of discussions of this kind of thing, or
from people of colour or women?
Or just in general in life, like?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, at the moment, I'm actually putting a package together for work on women and non-binary people and trans people in the music scene and how they are underrepresented.
Oh, no, underrepresented.
Like words. In the industry, and why is it a thing? It shouldn't be a thing. You know, and it's really interesting because a lot of people that I've been interviewing, been chatting to, are saying a lot of the same thing. Like, you know, they have found it harder from their own experiences, like even experiences like myself. Like, I've been looked down upon because I am a woman. Like, they just like, oh, like, you know, they don't know how to plug this in here. They don't know, like, you know, I studied, I did a course, I can do studio engineering, not very well, but I know that I know the ins and outs, you know. So it's just like people not taking you seriously, and I think a lot of women in the industry do recognize that. They see it, because it happens to them. Like, again, I say I'm lucky that I haven't had any really in music anyway, anything really to do with my colour brought up into my race. It's kind of refreshing, which is nice. But yeah,
it's beautiful. So yeah, Gemma, I just want to thank you for giving us your opinion. You know, I don't think it's one that's heard enough, and I'm actually genuinely fascinated.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's refreshing. You know. So for that little girl that looks more like you than anybody else, in some little village in some little county in Ireland, and she's thinking about her place in this country and who she is and what she is, what advice would you have for her?
Such a big question. I'd say be yourself. Don't be afraid to be yourself. You know, it's okay if you look a little bit different, or if you talk differently or whatever. Like, it's fine. Because I think the best person you can be is you. And, you know, if you do face discrimination or anything like that, you're not alone. There's always people to chat to. You know, a lot of people go through things in life and they are there to talk. I'm here to talk if, you know, she wants to talk to me. But yeah, I think my main thing is just be yourself. Follow your dreams without sounding cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you put your mind to something, you know, no one's going to stop you from doing it if you just fire on.
Go on. Just fire on. And then, you know, I say, you know, if you're listening, you might not want my perspective or not, yeah. Say, yo, darling, you know, say you're beautiful, and and I think of all the countries in the world and all the places that you could be in that situation, I think we live in one of the best, where there's the most chance of being let live, like being
100%.
And I think me myself, like I tell the story about how, like, so I had a rough time in England in school, and it was all racially motivated, like to the point where in I did fifth class in 3 different schools, like for getting kicked out, like. But that was my experience of England. I know it was a very extreme one.
Yeah.
I know that it might not necessarily be the same for everybody. However, that is my past. Like that is it's a part of me now. And and somebody asked me the other day, when did that stop? Like, when did you stop being so angry? And I remember walking into the village shop, and the shopkeeper there, an old woman called Margaret Giblin, and she says to me, "How are you Paraic?" And that was enough to genuinely change my life. I'd never had that before. I'd never been made to feel a part of any kind of community, let alone be welcomed or loved by someone that's just like a member of the village. Do you know what I mean? There's no deeper connection, only she runs the shop. And so my point is kind of, I think there is hope for diversity and whatever, to just, like you say, fire away, like stay going. And I think there's a barrier mentally. I think there's in yourself, like, to understanding yourself, and there might be an ignorance barrier, like, and a slagging barrier, but I think there is a real opportunity and a real hope for people like us in this country, full stop.
I guess we're prime examples, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Done told you a long time. See, when we're like 35 now, looking back on this, we're like, yo, told ya. Anyway, I think that would be all for today. Thank you so much. Like, honest to God, that was brilliant. I was about to say, we'll talk to you next week. We won't talk to you next week. This isn't that. All right, then. Sound.
Sweet. Happy days.
Good job, guys.
Woo.
Did you enjoy that, did you? Well, fair play to you for getting to the end anyway. Why don't you watch another one? That one is the one that YouTube thinks that you'd like the most. And if you'd like access to some exclusive content, you can get the link in our description, which will bring you to the Patreon page. Thank you. Gurmi Lamahat.